Let's take a look at your actual hooping technique. Now with a hoop, traditional hoop, you're going to have two pieces. You're going to have the outer ring or the outer hoop and the inner hoop, and that's actually the one with the arms, but it fits inside the other one. And to start off, I'm going to loosen up this outer hoop. I'm going to adjust the tension of this to whatever project I'm working on. So this will be something that you'll do at the beginning of a project. Now, if you're doing t-shirts all day long and they happen to have different designs, you'll be fine. But if you're going t-shirt, sweatshirt, dress shirt, those kinds of things throughout the day, you'll want to adjust your tension for each garment. So to start off, place my outer ring so that the adjustment screw is easy for me to get to. I don't care if it's, here or here, but if it's on either of the sides, when I go to actually hoop it, I'm covering it up with an arm, and that makes it really hard to kind of adjust and tension that. So I'd rather not do that. I tend to go either kind of straight up or straight down. I know coworker Scott, he tends to go at 45 degrees. It's really up to you. I tend to put it where I can get to it easily. So it's nice and loose. I'm then going to take my backing and my fabric, and here I'd have just a swatch of broadcloth, just for an example. But for you, if you were doing a t-shirt, you could do this with the tail of the t-shirt. That would work just fine. Or you could go right on the left chest where you were planning on sewing, up to you. But make sure that you're using the actual fabric. All right, so then I'm going to place my inner hoop over my outer hoop, and I'm just going to press down in, and it should go in nice and easy. And this is nice and smooth. And then I'm going to pick this up, and I'm going to tighten my screw. I'm going to go to finger tight. Now normally I would advise against tightening an outer hoop while you have the garment already hooped, and here's why. This was nice and smooth when we started this off, but now you can see that I've got ripples of material in here, and that's because as we tightened it, that hoop got a little bit smaller and it pushed that material in. So I want this nice and smooth. All I'm doing right now is tensioning it, so I'm not worried. I'm going to put this in, I'm going to tighten this to finger tight, then I'm going to unhoop it. And to do that, I typically will put my thumb on the edge of these tabs. I'll put my finger on the hoop on the inside and pop that off. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, maybe 3 full turns more. This is going to depend on your finger strength. And then I'm going to do it again, but this time I'm actually hooping. So now I have this hoop tension adjusted. I'm going to put my backing, then my material. When I go to hoop, I want to make sure that this notch is in the upper right position. So I'm going to be loading it onto the machine this way. So this is the top. When dealing with the orientation of the hoop, you'll want to think about how you are getting into the garment and how you're loading the garment onto the machine. So if I was going in through the neck, I could put this notch facing up, and then I would just load that onto the machine and make sure that I'm going in through the neck. Now, if I was going in through the bottom of the shirt, then I would want to flip this upside down so that the notch is facing down. But then you also have to remember to flip the design in your software, so don't forget that bit. So when I'm actually hooping, what I tend to do is I will lay my hand at the bottom of the hoop, and I will put the top of the hoop in, and I will pull forward and lean back a little bit. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm not strong enough to just push this in with just one hand. I need both hands. The other thing, if you're starting to rock around and move around, you're going to be bringing in a lot of extra material. So put the top in, push against that top edge slightly. Make sure that you're not just dragging across the whole thing. You can see those V's. You can see that I'm starting to ripple that material, and that would be very bad. It's going to distort my fabric, and then when I unhoop it, it's going to distort my design. So just the top in, push forward, get a little bit of tension, lean back, get tension on the back of the hoop here underneath my hand. I put my other hand on it, and then I come in and do a little kind of CPR action, nice and smooth, nice and even, and then I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to push it across one way and then the other, and make sure that I'm not pushing a ripple of material. If I am, I need to unhoop and do it again. To test the tension of my hoop, what I'll need to do is hold the hoop and then tap on the interior of the hoop. Now what I'm doing, I'm not listening for a sound. What I'm doing is I'm kind of mimicking the action of the machine. And as I do this, if material starts to walk in, my hoop's not tight enough. And if that's the case, I'll want to unhoop, tighten a few more turns, and then rehoop. I don't want you to tighten it while it's in here because that just pulls more of that material in. If you happen to be working with a material and backing that is just too thin to get a really good hold on, and you need a little bit of extra grip, but you only want to use one piece of backing, kind of a silly trick, but it works really well, is to take another piece of backing, draw the hoop in it, cut that out, and what we're going to do is we're going to essentially sandwich the fabric between layers of backing, giving it a little bit more bulk where the hoop is grabbing, but where you're sewing, there's only one piece of backing. So if I sandwich it like this, I've got backing, then my material, then another piece of thicker backing, and what that allows me to do is where the hoop is holding on to it, it's going to hold a little bit tighter. And now I have a nice hooped piece of material that is sandwiched between backing. It's really nice and tight. It's holding a little bit better just because it has a little bit more thickness where that hoop is actually holding on. Hooping technique for these magnetic hoops is very, very similar. I'm going to pull this off of here. With the magnetic hoops, though, you want to make sure that this tab, the longer tab on the underneath hoop or ring, is on the opposite side of this notch. So as you put this in the machine, some of the larger magnetic hoops, if you try to put it together this way, this will actually kind of hit where you don't want it to hit, and it will limit you and actually not allow you to get the hoop into the machine. So if it's on the other side from this notch, that's what you're looking for. So I'm going to set that down. Nice thing about magnetic hoops is it's held in place with magnets. It's not held in place by tension, and so I don't have to deal with tensioning a hoop. So I'm going to lay that there. Then what I typically do is I'll lay my hand here just to hold, and then I'll put the top in and kind of rock this back, and then that's nice and smooth and tight and what I'm looking for. Now you're armed with good hooping technique for a traditional or a mighty hoop. Go out there and start sewing.